Hey everyone, it's Monday evening, March 30th, and it's shop update time again. I guess first let's talk about last week's update, and wow, did a lot of people have something to say about the clipboard. That was the most comments of everything. First, thanks to a couple of people who left comments who are identifying that this is 80286 or 80386 motherboard. One guy even sent me a photo, and yeah, when I look at the picture of an actual 286 motherboard and I look at this side by side, it's pretty clearly that that's what it was. Otherwise, I guess people either just liked it or it brought back memories. I mean, is it just me, or are there a lot of old computer nerds who are in the YouTube woodworking area? So next topic was the printer stand video. First off, yes, I know Steve Ramsay also was doing a printer stand last week. In fact, I knew that before I even started it. He watched my video, he left a comment, it was really nice. I mean, about all we had in common is that there were two printers and it was a stand. I mean, we didn't make our stands are nothing alike. And actually, Steve and I have the same printer, it seems like. You know, every now and then someone will leave a comment and they say I look like Steve Ramsay, and I don't know where that's coming from. But other than that, there's not much to say. It turned out great. People left some nice comments. Thank you to all the people who did so, and a special thank you to all the other people who said they've had one-day builds turn into 5-day builds. Happens to everybody. There was a question about a biscuit joiner. Yes, I have a biscuit joiner. The question was, why didn't I use the biscuit joiner to put the tabletops together? It's quicker and easier. Yeah, it's quicker, but it's less precise. A biscuit joiner leaves a slot where there's wiggle room. So you put two boards together and you can slide them left and right a bit to get things into alignment. That's one of the good things about a biscuit joiner. In my experience, I've also found that they can actually wiggle a bit in thickness, which they shouldn't do, but I have had it happen where I'll put two boards together with a biscuit and they're not flush. Whereas the doweling jig, it is absolutely precise. I mean, that's what some people complain about, that there is no wiggle room with a doweling jig. You put those holes in there, and you better have put them in right, because they have to be in perfect alignment, and they keep the board in perfect alignment. So that's what I reach for when I do that sort of operation. And speaking of that printer stand, if you recall that huge 7-foot by 38-inch table that I started with, well, that's all the wood I got left after building the printer stand. And that leads me into what's new in the shop this week, because I did have a little bit more left over. It was kind of a slow week. I mostly took a break. I needed to get some computer work, some budget work stuff done, so I didn't really do that much in the shop. But on the weekend I came down and I grabbed a few of the scraps and I started making some of John Heiss's clamps. This is how far I got on the weekend. Most of it's made with leftover ash from that, though I did use some walnut for the wedges, and I had some cherry left over from my kitchen project that I'm using for the handles. And John, I'm going to be sending you a letter because I've already messed up. I'm really not used to using other people's plans, so these work, but these wedges, they're supposed to stick through somehow, so I don't know. I'm going to have to double check those dimensions. Probably rip the board a bit skinnier, but as you see, they're not very big. He designed these to go really long, but I actually wanted some short clamps. Why am I only building two? Well, partly I just wanted to see how it would turn out, and partly, like everybody else, I'm social isolating, and I only had so much threaded rod in the shop, and I only had 2 T-nuts, so I only could make 2. Not going to the store if I don't have to. So yeah, it's just rare that I build things from other people's plans, so it's just a different mindset, and you know, checking the video, checking the plans, doubting yourself. Whereas when it's your own design, it's mostly in your head, and you know, if you've written something down, that's just helping you as you go. In last week's update, I also mentioned that little monitor stand that I built for my computer, and if you'll recall, my wife was saying, you know, just build another one if you don't like it. And then in the comments, this one guy left this one comment. He's like, why don't you just cut it in half and stick a piece of wood in there and slap some of those dowels in? And I was like, that's a brilliant idea, so I did it. I looked around in my stash for some contrasting wood, but I ended up just grabbing some more of the ash that was left over from the printer stand, so I didn't get a contrasting wood. I used my doweling jig to pop in some dowels, which aligned things nicely and gave plenty of strength for this end grain to end grain joint. And as you've probably noticed by now, I somehow lost all the audio from all the cutting operations and the assembly operations of adjusting this little monitor stand, so I got nothing for you here, sorry. And this was the end result. It's wider, it's plenty strong enough, but when I looked at it, I found it just a bit too homely, and I thought about it for a bit, and I took it and I put it on the table saw and I ran it through the table saw, and I just took 1/8 of an inch off the front. And then I glued a thin strip of ash all along the front. So from the front, it just looks like one piece. It's still a little homely, but I'm just going to put it into use and give it a try for a while, and we'll see. Because I can always make another one if I don't like it. So I was trying to think of things that would make these shop updates interesting, and I think one of the things that makes any video interesting is a good story. So I thought I would sort of pick things in the shop that I thought might have an interesting story. And for this week, I'm going to tell the story about all my hand planes. So let me pull them all down and we'll get a close look. So I stopped the video for a minute and I dusted them all because, let's be honest, I hardly use them anymore. I've been woodworking for over 20 years, and when I started, I was much younger and I had no money. And I thought I might go the hand tool route. There was this mailing list called the Old Tools mailing list. I think it might be still around. This was, this is like late 90s, so I mean there wasn't much in terms of like web browsing and web-based tools. It was a lot more mailing list oriented discussions that were floating around online. And so I started off looking for old hand tools because that's what I could afford, and I thought I could still do some woodworking. This is a number 7 jointer. This was my first jointer. For a couple of years, this is what I used to edge joint wood. This is a type 10 plane for those who are tracking that, which means it dates from around 1907 to 1909. I found it in an Old Tools antique store in upstate Massachusetts, kind of near Hancock Shaker Village. This is a number 5 jack plane. I bought this online from a guy named Patrick Leach. He was a big muckety muck in the hand tools world. This is a type 19, which means it dates from like 1948 to 1961. This was a splurge in later years. This is the Veritas low angle smoother. It works great. I'm sure it would work better if I was better at sharpening and adjusting, but let's be honest, I'm not. This is a number 4 C for the corrugation. This one is corrugated also. The idea was that the corrugations would improve, like reduce friction, so improve it, but I've heard other people who say it doesn't really. This is another type 19. This one was actually made in Canada. You can see it in here. I found this in an antique market here in London, Ontario. And finally, this is a handmade spoke shave. This is Osage Orange. So way back then on this Old Tools mailing list, they organized a couple of Secret Santa exchanges, and that's how I got this spoke shave. Somebody sent it to me. In fact, I also have this really nice low angle block plane that somebody sent me. It's actually a Craftsman number 3732. I don't remember what I sent to other people because I never really had a huge hand tool collection. As I recall, it was either a hand tool or something that you've made. So I think I sent off something that I had made. But Anyways, you know, Secret Santa things, they can be fun. It's always a challenge for us Canadians because it's the whole crossing the border thing, which adds a huge expense and headache no matter which way you go. And I used to have more hand planes because, like I said, back then I had no money, so I thought I'd try the hand tool route, and I did that for a while. And as you all know, I now have a shop full of power tools, and so I pared down my hand tool collection 10 or so years ago, and I just kept one of each. But anyways, that's the story behind my hand planes. Thanks for stopping by. That's the end of this update. We will see you again next time.